Je prends le temps, je respire. Je prends le temps, je respire. Je m'arrête un instant et choisis de ne plus courir. Je prends le temps, un sourire. Je prends le temps, un sourire, un nouveau pas, un autre rythme. Il n'est jamais trop tard. Je prends le temps.
My story, it's not exactly a happy one. On the other hand, it can be very inspiring. That's why I'm currently looking for investors who can help me create something beautiful out of this whole story. I have a lot of recorded material from the time when I was taking too many medications. For example, when I got kicked out of the Joliet emergency room right in the middle of COVID and ended up in the parking lot at 9:30 when we weren't even allowed to be on the road, I hit one of my lowest points. I called suicide prevention and talked to someone on the phone from Joliet to my place because I was scared. You know, I was so discouraged that I was afraid of myself. I've always been careful with medications. I warn people around me when the medications, it may have been many years since I last took any, but anyway, I always warn the people around me. So when the medications started having a really negative effect on me, listen, I became like a human wreck. It wasn't funny anymore. And my pharmacist, who knows me well, has seen me spiral down for about 10 years. When I tell you that sometimes I would go to the pharmacy, I just couldn't handle it. I was standing behind the chairs, behind the walls. It wasn't fun. I was really out of it. So at one point, she took me aside and said, "Listen, I need to tell you, there are really some medications that are contradicting each other. You know, what you're taking is really strong, Julie, right?" So, she tells me, "Knowing that you live alone and spend your days lying down, I'd like you to have an naloxone kit with you." When I got back home, I decided that it was over. I stopped taking those medications and went through 3 days of withdrawal. I'm going to tell you something. I went through 3 days of withdrawal all by myself at home. The first day wasn't so bad. The second one, on the first day, I actually called one of my friends who came to get me, and we went to an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting together. It wasn't that bad, you know. I was feeling weird, you know, but it wasn't that bad. Well, 24 hours later. The next 2 days were really a nightmare. The only thing I'd want to compare it to is a poltergeist exorcism movie. I had already seen withdrawals in movies. I knew from having been involved in therapy houses that withdrawal was really tough. To experience it all by myself at home, you know. Yeah, I hallucinated. I saw little nuggets on the walls. I had explosive diarrhea. You know, I'm telling you the truth. I couldn't even make it to the bathroom. I threw up. My room, after the 3 days, looked like a crime scene, you know. Anyway, I managed to pull through. I did it. Why? Listen up, okay? I'm not suggesting that to anyone. I'll tell you about my experience. I did it. Because I really wanted to stop that. Knowing that there was no permanent damage, other than the discomfort, I chose to dive right into it head first. I realized at that moment the power it could have over my whole body. The tremors like that, then listen, I tell you, it's like a Portuguese film. But it didn't bother me because every time I had a withdrawal symptom, every time I was sick, or every time I felt like giving up, I always told myself, "Julie, remember why you're doing this. Every time you throw up, every time you have diarrhea, every time you hit discomfort, well, you know, that's what's coming out of you, you know." So that's kind of the mindset I went into it with, and I got through it after 3 days. Every time you throw up, every time you have diarrhea, every time you hit discomfort, well, you know, that's what's coming out of you, you know. So that's kind of the mentality I went into it with, and then I got out after 3 days. I'll tell you something, when I got out of there, I was out of there. In fact, I didn't even get out there. But I ate a big poutine, big as well, with hot dogs. Listen, it was really a big junk food binge, but still. What I mean is it didn't stop there, because now it's fine. I'm stopping the medications that are prescribed for diabetics, and that whole range of meds, but you know, I still have my pain. So now, I decide to go back to something I had already taken. It was morphine, codeine, no not codeine, morphine, dilaudid. And you know, all that stuff. Well, you know, I spent like 2 to 3 months on that, but what you need to know is that yes, the medications were prescribed, okay. Well, yeah. But that gives me a stomachache. So to avoid getting nauseous, I had to take Gravel, and you know, just don't forget that I never wanted to take narcotics. I know how that works, and you know, it's mostly for chronic pain. You don't take narcotics for chronic pain, you know. Sometimes that's not what's gonna help you. So I had an appointment with my physiatrist, and I told her, listen, this isn't working well. I feel like the narcotics I'm taking right now aren't enough anymore. You know, I really feel like my pain is coming back faster. And then I showed her my logbook and everything. So look, she tells me, you're gonna stop that right now. You have to stop this right now. Honestly, it's way too much. No. You're starting to have a rebound effect on your medication. And once again, I'm skipping the term because I can't remember what it's called, but what I understood was that the narcotics I was taking regularly every day not only weren't relieving my pain, because let's not forget that, in the end, the narcotics never really helped me, but it's still a bit, you know. Not only were the narcotics not helping me, but on top of that, she told me that this is what's causing my recurring pain, at fixed times and everything. Well, you know, that's a bit of a bummer. What do you do with that afterwards? Not only did the narcotics not relieve me, but they also told me that this is what was causing my repetitive pain, fixed times and everything. Well, you know, it's a bit of a downer. What do you do with that afterwards? I wasn't ashamed to seek out resources. On the contrary, I know about suicide prevention. It's always been something that's been important to me. When I had my bar, there were many closures of big factories in 𝗏𝗏, and I had customers who lost a lot as a result. It wasn't easy. I took a training course to become a sentinel for suicide prevention, and I regularly put suicide prevention cards in the bathrooms of my bar. It's anonymous, but they were always running out, and I'm attentive to the signs. So those are the times when I asked for help, the times when I hit my lowest point. It's not complicated. It was as suicide was almost my only option, and I found it hard because people aren't. There's a communication problem at that level. You can't just tell someone, hey, I'm thinking about suicide. You can't say that to someone you just meet like that. It's heavy, and the person may not know what to do with it, but still, we need to talk about it. So that's it. Having breakdowns, committing suicide over medication, too much or whatever. And I found that really difficult because people aren't. There's really a communication problem at that level. You can't just tell someone, hey, I'm thinking about suicide. You can't say that to someone you just meet like that. First of all, it's heavy, and the person might not know what to do with it, but still, we need to talk about it. So, that's it, having breakdowns, thinking about suicide over medication, too much or whatever. Nobody wants to die, but people just don't want to suffer anymore. That's what we shouldn't forget. Today, I would have the right to ask for help to die. And it's funny because every time I call for help, they always ask me, Julie, do you feel like committing suicide? And I always respond, I don't want to commit suicide, but I don't want to live like this, and I have the right to say that. So for me, every morning when I wake up, it's a choice I make to keep on living. And I always respond, I don't want to commit suicide, but I don't want to live like this, and I have the right to say that. So for me, every morning when I wake up, it's a choice I make to keep on living. People seem to be unaware of that, but you. No, it's my reality. I go through it every 3 months, and I set goals for myself. So then I'm thinking, okay, where was I 3 months ago? Is it moving forward? Is it moving forward? Well, so what I can say is that I really feel for the people who are stuck in that situation and who don't ask questions or seek information because everyone is afraid to confront their doctor. Nobody takes the time to come in and say, yeah, but are you sure that, or anything like that? I have a lot of audio documents, or little videos where I talk about how I feel. You know, it's dark. Honestly, it's a bit dark. But I think someone who's interested could do something beautiful with that.
Honestly, it's a bit dark.
But I think someone who's interested could do something beautiful with that, you know. You don't have to get out of that right away, you know. But still, I've got the equipment to keep my company going for a couple of years, you know. Especially, its exclusive material, you know. So,
Je prends le temps, un sourire, un nouveau pas, un autre rythme. Il n'est jamais trop tard. Je prends le temps.